I am completely terrified of the woods at night time and uncomfortable with them in the day. Xylophobia. Just seeing the woods from my window at night makes me feel like I'm gonna. My friend wants to explore a wooded area at night time, and I don't want to disappoint her. Advice? Any advice for how to help manage it and psych it up for long enough to just go for a walk in them for like half an hour. In the daytime, I'm mainly just afraid of getting lost, of ending up like the Blair Witch Project characters, of even the daytime not being. During the nighttime though, just looking at them from the safety of my bedroom makes me feel like I'm gonna have a panic attack, like something is from them. Even flashlights won't help a lot, as I'll be terrified that if I take the light off of her for even a nanosecond, she'll disappear when I shine it back, and I'll be alone deep in the woods, and I'll feel like something is looking for me. Xylophobia. The fear of the forest is a phobia not enough people talk about. Most people are consumed with the undying fear of the ocean and what's in it, and of the lives beyond our planet, and sometimes even small insects and holes. However, nobody talks about the terrifying beauty of a forest. Forests take up over a quarter of all the land on our planet, and some around 7% of our world. This statistic has decreased over time. The forests aren't as unexplored as the ocean is, yet I'd argue an even bigger cloud of mystery surrounds them. The amount of myths and stories that have come from people's disturbing experiences in the forest beats out most other landscapes. The woods can be calming, yet terrifying at the same time. The sweet sounds of birds chirping and the rustling of leaves helps a lot of people calm down. But when night falls and the birds stop chirping, things start to get a lot more intimidating. When you try to look at where you are and see nothing but the vague forms of trees in the night sky, and all you can do is pray that you make it out alive. This is what makes the forest so terrifying in my opinion. There are many things that can kill you, and if you get lost, it's difficult to get back to a common area if you're not familiar with the forest already. Enter Xylophobia. Xylophobia also goes by Xylophobia, and is often associated with two very similar phobias, which will be discussed later. Xylophobia is an abnormal and often debilitating fear of the forest, or any wooded area. The phobia often stems from a traumatic experience, such as an animal attack, getting lost, etc. Though even those who haven't suffered such an experience may still fear the forest, there's something about it that's just so eerie. Even though it can be incredibly peaceful, I think the ordinary creatures who roam the forest make us fear and respect the woods. Some of the deadliest creatures can be found in forests all over the world. Even though deaths aren't as common as many would think, the risk is still very real. The most dangerous forest in the world is the Amazon rainforest, with thousands of different animal species discovered, and many yet to be discovered. The Amazon is known for its poisonous and venomous creatures, poison dart frogs, snakes, spiders, centipedes, etc. All creatures that can put you in a hospital in minutes and put you in a tombstone in hours. The thought of such a small creature that's able to do so much harm is terrifying. You could simply misstep or wander in the wrong area, and a small creature bites you. Despite most people not referencing this animal upon being asked the deadliest animal, mosquitoes kill more people than any other creature, with somewhere around 1 million deaths each year. They consistently infect people with deadly diseases, like malaria, the West Nile virus, the Zika virus, and all other life-threatening diseases. Such a small creature to cause so much death and destruction. Heading up north, the forests thought to be known for their bigger creatures, bears, wolves, etc. etc. Creatures that will put a painful end to your life. When you start to look into how many creatures of the forest can be deadly, you can start to become paranoid. I used to be extremely paranoid about every animal in the forest, to the point where I exhibited the symptoms of xylophobia. There are two certain forests that can bring interesting ideas to why forests can be so creepy. The Aokigahara Forest of Japan, and the Daring Woods of England. The Aokigahara Forest is much more known due to a certain YouTuber, but for some, images of these forests exhibit dread. When you look at videos or photos of these forests, you notice that these forests honestly are kinda beautiful. Though even with admiration comes an unsettling feeling. Knowing the backstory behind these forests give them a totally new meaning. The sightings of spirits and strange voices of the Daring Woods, the nickname, and the folktales told about the Aokigahara Forest. The Aokigahara Forest is more sad than creepy, simply because of what it's known for. The vague, disturbing nature of these forests make many make sure to never come across these woods. The Wendigo is gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tautly over its bones, with its bones pushing out against its skin. Its complexion, the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton, recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Its body was unclean, and suffering from the separations of the flesh, giving off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. Basil Johnston, Ojibwe teacher and scholar, Ontario, Canada. Some of the scariest creatures of the forest can be attributed to Native American legends. The iconic and often misrepresented flesh-eating Wendigos, the shape-shifting skinwalkers, the Thunderbird, and many more. The way Wendigos are represented in media is often incorrect. If you Google the word Wendigo, almost always also be great drawings of a massive deer-like being, which is inaccurate, but the drawings are still great. The actual appearance of a Wendigo is that of a monstrous human being who has left their humanity behind and embodies cannibalism, greed, and death. The Wendigo, among tribes such as the Algonquian Ojibwe, Eastern Cree, and others, is described as a giant beast, created by the need to consume human flesh. It was a large creature, as tall as a tree, with a lipless mouth and jagged teeth. Its breath was a strange hiss, its footprints full of blood, and it ate any man, woman, or child who ventured into its territory, and those were the lucky ones. Sometimes, the Wendigo chose to possess a person instead. Then the luckless individual became a Wendigo himself, hunting down those he had once loved and feasting upon their flesh, the Ojibwa. The Skinwalker is known to the Navajo as an evil, shape-shifting witch that should be avoided at all costs. Discussing Skinwalkers is widely taboo among natives, as it is believed that discussion of such creatures may attract them. Similarly to Wendigos, Skinwalkers are often misrepresented in the media. It is said that most Skinwalkers were originally normal people, simple medicine men who practiced witchcraft for the good of their tribe. They become Skinwalkers when they use their abilities to harm and transform into wild animals to accomplish a task. The first clip shown is a key example of what Skinwalkers do. You can hear a very distant scream. It almost lures you to it, makes you want to explore it. This is the manipulation tactic of the Skinwalker. It makes its screams appear distant so you get closer and closer to it, until it's too late to save yourself. American Indian legends have scared many for decades. The idea of being alone in the forest with an entity that can put a grueling end to your life is terrifying, especially when it has the intellectual capacity to manipulate you. Have you ever gone into a forest? Birds chirping, leaves rustling, everything sounding alive, when everything just stops. No noise or anything. You don't know what it is, but you have a gut feeling that isn't a good thing. It's almost as if the entire force is hiding from something. Before I start, I would just like to say I cannot find this story. I remember it vaguely, but I just can't find it. If any of you know what story I'm talking about, share in the comments below. To summarize what I remember of the story, it begins with a man hiking in the woods when he stumbles upon an old man. The old man invites him back to his cabin, where he talks to him about his life and the dangers of the woods. The man leaves, where he eventually comes back and talks to the man again. He does this a few times until something strange happens with the old man. He seems to over-reveal about himself, and gets mad at humanity for taking the forest. He then reveals he's some sort of forest deity, and that the man should watch out for him. This may not be connected, but I remember somewhere in the story the entire forest just stopped. The main character was forced to hide, or leave. The idea that an entire ecosystem fears something enough to hide is terrifying. Such a being almost fits into cosmic horror. We don't know or understand the form of the being. All we know is it's a threat, and the only way to survive is to hide. Even though such a creature has never been documented, multiple cases of the woods going completely dead silent have occurred. Why do the woods go silent? I think hunters can answer this question. I live in the middle of 11 acres of trees in the Florida Panhandle. There are all sorts of wildlife: deer, pigs, coyotes, raccoons, a cat of some kind, and every bird imaginable. Between these animals, the frogs and the bugs, there's usually a symphony outside. Once in a while the woods go absolutely silent and stay that way for hours. Does anyone have insight into this? In my estimation, the most probable thing is a predator, most likely a winged one, such as a hawk, falcon, or eagle. There's also a possibility of a panther, coyote, or bobcat, but those would likely not cause insects to go silent, unless insects and birds feed off of each other. Something change. Most likely scenario is a predator is around. Even those of us who spend significant time in the outdoors aren't as attuned to the subtle changes that take place the way that the creatures who live there are. We know it's a hawk flying by, or coyote moving through the woods, long after most of the animals out there have become aware of its presence. The woods go silent and wake up with the sun every day, just like the city. There are diurnal, awake and active with the sun, nocturnal, night animals, and crepuscular, move and feed at pre-dawn and dusk. Animals cohabiting and sharing resources, similar to a human city. The practices for traveling and survival change with the environmental factors. The comments explain that it's most likely a predator, but who knows what that predator is. When the woods go silent, it's best to get out there as quickly as possible. In 2020, based on research, there were over 1,600 people lost in forests, dead or simply missing. All these people disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and it is unknown whether this has changed. The actual confirmed statistic of missing people is unknown due to the lack of tracking and concealment of information. Many people disappear into the forest may never be found. However, that wasn't the case for Geraldine Largay.
Missing over a year, where the search for Geraldine Largay stands,
All those theories have been looked at, and nothing has popped up.
and why her disappearance has more questions than answers.
When you have these mysteries, you don't know until you get to the end.
Sunday at 11.
So this woman right here, 66-year-old Geraldine Largay, who's missing along a stretch of Maine's Appalachian Trail.
It was 2 weeks ago today. The husband of a missing hiker, Geraldine Largay, last saw his wife along the Appalachian Trail in western Maine.
In July of 2013, Geraldine, who also goes by Jerry, hiked along the Appalachian Trail. Jerry was described as an upbeat and positive person who loved going hiking. During the hike, Jerry occasionally meets up with her husband to check up and get supplies. On July 23rd, they both had planned to meet up at Route 27 crossing, but Geraldine never showed up. A few days later, her husband George called the police and reported her missing. People searched for her for weeks, but nothing was found. The search was eventually called off. 2 years later in 2015, a US Navy lieutenant discovered a body in the forest.
This was the heartbreaking moment. Searchers found the remains of missing hiker Geraldine Largay.
There's nobody else that wanted to bring her home more than we
A
did.
crew was sent out to investigate, where the license of Geraldine Largay was found in a tent. It was found that she survived 26 days before succumbing to starvation. She had attempted to send a text message to her husband, to no avail. On August 8th, she likely realized she was going to die, so she wrote the following message. When you find my body, please call my husband George and my daughter Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead and where you found me, no matter how many years from now. Please find it in your heart to mail the contents of this bag to one of them. She had also written a letter to each member of her family as a last goodbye. What had caused her to originally get lost was going off the trail to use the restroom, where she got disorientated and wandered off a little too far out. If someone had accompanied her, this may have gone differently. What's most tragic is the rescue team had tried to look for her for days, and at one point, she was only 100 feet away from rescuers. Taking a walk through the forest can be one of the most calming experiences of your life, and it can also be the worst. They are shrouded in beauty and greens, but also darkness and mystery. After learning what's out there, the forest may appear intimidating, scary even, but you should still go out in the forest this week. Even though it's scary, the experiences the forest can give you are unforgettable.